It's the 22nd of March, and this is an upload after a few days of quietness and a bit of relaxation in the midst of all the recovery going on with the medical incompetence that's been experienced in this entire vendetta of human rights violations. So basically, as I've mentioned, I've sent a victim impact statement to the relevant authorities. I haven't received my protection order that I've sought. Um, that was over a month ago. So there's a delay with that, whatever the reason. As I've said, there's been these offences perpetrated since I got married in 2015. My anniversary is coming up at the end of this month, and the ombudsman, as I've mentioned, still haven't contacted me with regards to the offences that have been perpetrated against me. The latest one of the offences perpetrated in this vendetta of hate crime and human rights violations is my current accommodation that I was explaining about. It's a state accommodation, it's county council accommodation, it's a one-bedroom apartment, and it's in Tralee. So basically, as I've already mentioned, I live alone. I'm recovering from medical incompetence, and as it happens, there's been hassle. Surprise, surprise. The perpetrators are quite persistent in causing as much disruption to my livelihood and my entitlements as they're attempting since I gave birth. Um, Basically, the most serious part is that they have intentionally withheld my financial um, aid, my financial entitlements from me. There's been financial theft, as I've mentioned. There's been fraudulent claims, and there's been harassment, and there's been defamation. So, in my current accommodation that I've been evicted from for being a quiet tenant, a private tenant, um, living on my own, and experiencing these assaults of my constitutional rights. In the meantime, my marital property, um, you know, so the other aspect to this is my legal rights, the legal violations in all of this, the legal entitlements that have been intentionally withheld from me. So this is my apartment, my one-bedroom apartment. It's in Tralee, and basically the issue next is that access to my marital home is a requirement with the issues that are occurring. So in Tralee County, Kerry, where I've lived all my life, haven't perpetrated any offences against anyone. The current accommodation I'm in, I have to vacate due to false claims by individuals that haven't lived with me and that have perpetrated offences against me and my constitutional rights. So this is ongoing, and authorities still haven't provided me with the order that I require for the offences that are occurring. So that's as much as I'll put in this upload. There's an eviction, and I'm a quiet, peaceful living tenant, and this is what I'm tolerating in the midst of recovering from medical incompetence and financial theft. The ombudsman still haven't contacted with regard to what's going on and haven't rectified the damages and offences perpetrated by liars and thieves, basically, in this entire situation. So, as a mother and as a deserted wife, I'm justifiably offended and disgusted and justifiably annoyed. There are people that are obviously mentally disturbed enough to be causing these kind of disruptions in society while proclaiming themselves to be advocates for human rights of other causes and other issues like animal rights and veganism and such things, climate change or whatever. But in the meantime, they're perpetrating these kind of offences against an innocent woman and lying through their teeth and trying to make themselves good in other causes. So this is very disturbing. It's very morbid that people would cause this kind of a disruption in society while trying to regenerate a community based on these kind of damages. There's been different twists and turns to their tales since 2016, 2017, and this is the latest in their offences. So, as regards my marital rights, um, to think that there's farm holdings that I have full rights to, a property, family home, and I'm in public accommodation. And there's ombudsmen that are fully aware, and authorities and politicians fully aware in 2020 Ireland, democracy, and this is occurring. So this is my next and latest upload for the first of today, and the first in the past few days. So the United Nations, as insignificant as you might consider this upload or these uploads or this issue, this is actually quite serious when it involves the children's rights matters that are occurring, women's rights and human rights, etc., etc., and especially the medical rights. So these people that are perpetrating these offences obviously think they're going to just sail into two farm holdings and damage a family and steal property and homes that don't belong to them and steal wealth that doesn't belong to them and damage health that they are obligated to prioritise, and in the meantime defame a person's capabilities and steal wealth and then accuse an individual of financial incompetence when there's been very serious damage done to my professional career as a teacher, as a qualified educator from the University of Limerick and Hibernia College, that these individuals have also intruded upon and violated and tried to, you know, um, eliminate from the system. So, as insignificant as the human rights nations might, the United Nations and human rights agencies might consider these issues, they're very serious issues to be occurring in any 2020 democracy. Um, the medical incompetence is the most serious issue, and in the midst of recovery and self healing of a peaceful citizen, a law abiding citizen, for this to happen is quite scandalous. And to be prevented from living in my marital home and to be married and deserted and to have no supports legally is absolutely scandalous. Um, so, this is the latest upload. This has been sent to the relevant agencies, and these issues are getting worse. Um, to be evicted from public accommodation for no reason whatsoever, I think is absolutely scandalous. To be putting a latch down on a door, safeguarding my safety and other residents' safety, and to be evicted for that, and to be accosted and to be harassed for doing that by a non-tenant is absolutely scandalous. So that's what's happening in this town and county, and any regeneration projects or intentions of trying to change the story to this entire situation is an absolute waste of time. It's absolutely scandalous, and human rights agencies, regardless of the power players as they consider themselves, damaging my spiritual power, my spiritual work, my spirituality, um, as well as my family and my rights, my constitutional rights. This is ongoing. So the latest now is this eviction, unwarranted, and a marital home, basically, um, you know, being trespassed upon. So I'd appreciate it if the United Nations and the human rights agencies would actually acknowledge the situation that's occurring against an innocent woman. The scaremongering by these people preventing the assistance that I require is quite scandalous and shameful for any women's advocacy groups or any female politicians to be ignoring. Um, but that's what's happening. There's scandalous circumstances occurring, and it's quite shameless. Home thieving, family wrecking, all that kind of stuff. The financial theft I've experienced, it's absolutely scandalous. And people exploiting my creative work that I have been working on since 2006, and exploiting this situation is, it's more than a deceptive situation. It's a defamatory situation because the falsehoods that have been relayed have about a percentage of validity in what they've, you know, portrayed to individuals in preventing the assistance I require. So that's what the update for today is in this upload on the 22nd, and that's what's happening in Tralee, County Kerry. And it's quite serious when there's imposter syndrome, and there are people imposing as um, entitled individuals to what I own, and etc. etc. But the identity theft, the financial theft, the spiritual assault, these are all factors that I have experienced without any supports or services by the politicians of Dáil Éireann, and they are fully aware. They have been contacted, but there's obviously more, I don't know how to describe it, uh, beneficial circumstances or propositions being prioritised above a woman's constitutional rights. So that's 2020 Ireland, and the United Nations that I'm contacting with the relevant documentation that is being falsified by other culprits in this situation. I'd appreciate it if you'd consider this a little bit more seriously, because when it comes to children's rights and women's rights, property rights, medical rights, the entire lot, it's all a bit too much to be turning a blind eye to. And as regards the factor of information being withheld from me and people unethically questioning individuals without consent and attaining information unethically without consent or consultation or authorization, etc., as I've previously mentioned, this is all happening. So I've made my form of submission to the United Nations. They're fully aware of this vendetta of human rights violations and hate crime. The authorities have my victim impact statement requesting my protection order against these guilty culprits in this community. And my, marital rights are still to be respected that are also being disrespected in this matter. And the people that are making defamatory claims and causing these problems have disrupted what was once a very successful and happy community. So the idea of regeneration based on these violations and these falsehoods is very dangerous, and people attacking my spirituality and my royal ancestry, I hope they know how serious an offence as well that is also. So this is for the United Nations, and I'd appreciate it if there'd be an acknowledgement pretty promptly, because medical incompetence is also very serious. So that's my upload for today, and I hope it's considered with the seriousness that is required.